Welcome to the Maple Money Show, the podcast that helps Canadians improve their personal finances to create lasting financial freedom. Feel like you're stuck in your job, getting raises that barely keep up with inflation? Thankfully, there are infinite ways to make money, especially with the growth of the internet and now the peer-to-peer sharing economy. For this show, I wanted to bring on my good friend Philip Taylor from PT Money. Phil had various side gigs back in college and has been writing about legit ways to make extra money for over a decade. Our sponsor, Borrowell, is a Canadian company that can give you your credit score for free within minutes. Having a good credit score can help you get better rates on your mortgage, insurance, or personal loan. Those 3 digits help you save money. You can find out more at MapleMoney.com/Borrowell. That's MapleMoney.com/BORROWELL. Now let's get to PT. Hi, Philip. Welcome to the Maple Money Show.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me, man. Congrats on the new show. Honored to be a guest.
Awesome. Thanks for being on. So I wanted to talk to you today about sort of ways to make money. And the reason I came up with this topic with you is I think, as far back as I can remember, I think it's the first thing I remember you for. Like when I met you online, I don't know, 2009, 2010, this was something you were writing about. And it kind of changed my mindset with that, because I was totally focused on just how to save money. So it was a different angle that I wasn't even considering.
Yeah. Making extra money has become a passion for sure. The past 10 years of my life. I mean, it sort of came up like most people. I do sort of thinking, oh, I'll graduate from college, I'll get a job, and I'll just kind of go on with my life. And then I found myself kind of dissatisfied with that job and that career. And so I started looking for different ways, to do something different. I didn't know what that would be. I dabbled around in a few things. I eventually found my way to doing some blogging and doing some other things. And so my side hustles led to some real businesses for me that took over my life. And I kind of kept some side hustles as well. We can get into some of those. But yeah, it's been a real fun journey of just discovering like this other side of the balance sheet. Or the income statement rather, of really making the most of the income side of things, right? You're right in that expenses after a while get kind of boring because there's only so much of them you can cut. And so I found in my life, I was like, okay, I trim, and I was hardcore, just like you, hardcore slash expenses, get it way down, try to live really lean. And then it's like, okay, what do I do? Like, what do I do? Like, there's only, like if I was spending $3,000, I could only drop that down to maybe $2,000 or $1,000, and live really lean. But it's like, okay, now what's next? It's like, okay, well, let's look at the flip side of the coin. Let's try to work on some more income. And so, yeah, it's been a fun journey to kind of play around with that topic, write about it, and then run a couple of businesses myself that have become successful and really changed my life. So I'd encourage everyone out there listening that if you've kind of started working on your finances and you've played around with the expense side of things, to start flipping the switch and think about ways you could bring in extra money. And I'm excited to share some of those ideas with you and your listeners today.
Awesome. It seems like a simple question, but a lot of people don't think of it. Is why do you think that someone should be making more money? I still have a regular day job, and I talk to a lot of people, and their mindset is the only way they're going to get more money is to get a raise. There's no sort of, I could go deliver pizza or something like that. So in your opinion, why should people be looking at these ways to get extra income?
That's a great question. Well, we already hit on one, is that to improve your financial life, you've got expenses you can reduce and income you can go up. And so for one reason is you can do something about it, right? And there's an exponential opportunity there. Like, your income is not limited necessarily. And through your job is a good approach as well. I think people should pursue that. If they have a career, they should look for more ways to make money through that career and put themselves into that and seek raises and change jobs and try to get more income. That's cool. But again, that's kind of a slower path. I think there's less wide open opportunity, less under your control. And so when you start talking about ways to make extra money or starting a business on the side hustling, it's oftentimes fully under your control. And so given that independence and autonomy with the thing, If you get in there and you start having some fun with it, I mean, who knows what could happen? But extra income in your life could do a lot of things for you. It could help you pay off debt faster if you've got a debt reduction goal out there, maybe some student loans, or even paying down your mortgage faster. So it can help you advance really quickly with your financial life. And that's certainly what it did for me and my wife early on. Another couple of reasons why is that life changes, right? So as you have kids or you advance in your career, maybe you're saying to yourself, I kind of want to be home with my kids, or maybe I kind of want to give that entrepreneurship thing a try. And just straight jumping out of a career and into entrepreneurship, that's kind of a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. I like the side hustle ideas because they allow you to kind of transition into that space. So it's a way to kind of test the waters, so to speak. Other reasons include starting some investing. If you find yourself that you're just not able to invest as much for your future through your current paycheck, and by all means, go out there and get a second source of income. And it's going to create some income diversity for you and a little more security in your life when you've got multiple sources of income. That's ideal. As you age, you should be, as the old wise man would say, you should be able to dip your hand in different money jars out there and have a lot of different sources of income coming to you. And so, that's another good reason. So to me, there's more than enough reasons out there for people to at least test it out. Because for me, when I tested it out, it was like, oh, this is fun, And if it's fun, then it's like something you want to do. And if it's something you want to do, then it's like, oh, this could be something that, is really big for me in my life, So it's just like anything in life. You want to discover new things. And I think discovering new paths to income is something you should keep an open mind to.
So another thing I hear a lot, especially the water cooler talk kind of thing at my job, is nobody has the time. When they say that they already have a job, so they can't do much during the day, obviously, and they always want to relax and watch TV and stuff in the evening. How do you think that they can find that time? I know on my side, I was just admitting to this last episode actually was I was losing too much sleep, so I was probably going too far overboard. But are there other ways where people can still sleep, still have a job, and find some time?
Yep. I got a few ideas around this topic as well. And the first one I would say is look for money making ideas that are on the way, as I would say, or while you're away. So, right, this is the sharing economy, right? Mm-hmm. So I drive downtown every day. I could potentially become a Lyft driver and just turn my device on as I'm heading into downtown every day, or the same thing on the way home, or whenever I go to the airport, or whatever it is. So you can start dabbling in these ideas, the sharing economy out there that really doesn't take you out of your normal everyday life. And you got to be careful with this because it could creep into a bigger experience for you. And that might be cool too, but just look for ways that sort of fit within what you're already doing. You may have a bunch of extra stuff around the house that you could get rid of and you could sell on one of these online websites and aggregators. And so look for any idea out there that's, like I said, is on the way to something or while you're away. So if you go on vacation or if you go off for business several times during the year, consider renting your house out through an Airbnb type of service. So lots of tools and services out there so just put yourself in that mindset. It's like, what's my normal daily life look like? How could I insert a different money-making idea into that routine? Secondly, you already mentioned it, was the crushing hours, right? Yeah. So we spend about 8 hours a week working, 8 hours a day working in our normal jobs. And then we spend about 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours sleeping. Yeah. And so what do we do with that other 8 hours, as it's sometimes referred to, the other 8 hours? So you could, take in the family time, take in a little leisure activity, do some extra sleeping maybe, do some extra working maybe, but you probably end up having about 2 hours still left of that other 8 hours, even if you did take some of those sort of other moments away. And so I would start then. I mean, that's what worked for me was using my nights and weekends and even extra time at work on my lunch break or during breaks to kind of come up with If you really want it bad enough, I think you'll find that time. Thirdly, I would say, and this may be a little controversial, but consider downsizing your career. So for me, I went to a job that I knew had less responsibility. I went from sort of a management position and down to more of a analyst position in my corporate career, and that allowed me extra time. That was kind of controversial at the time, and the pay was still pretty about the same. But I knew I was taking a step back in my career direction. But I knew I just didn't want to be in this career. And so, if that's you out there, if it's like I'm heading up this ladder, but I'm thinking it might be the wrong ladder, well, then maybe say, well, what could I do to kind of still hedge myself? So stay in the career, allow myself to have more time, and then start to explore some extra ideas.
I
And
had
then,
I had
yeah,
a similar thing to that. I didn't necessarily have to step back, but I have hit the point a few times where I've gone out of my way to make sure I'm not advancing in my career. I've had no interest being in finance. I've had no interest in getting designation or being management or director or anything like that,
yeah,
because I'm at a place where my day is full between kids and online business and the day job, of course. Uh, the idea of putting in more time into my career just doesn't make sense when there's other things I can be doing with that time that are hopefully more productive.
I love it. Yep. I got two more for you.
Yeah.
One is daycare. So weigh the cost of having someone else watch your kids for a little bit against the potential income you can make, even if it's just a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
And even if you have to barter it. So you're starting a business maybe that services other people in some way. Well, consider bartering somehow with the service you're going to be providing with the fact that they might be able to watch your kids for a couple of hours. So just always put that on the table if you've got kids. And then lastly, think about it from this. If you've got a spouse, think about it from the teammate perspective. You've got someone else in your life that is sharing this income with you. Maybe seek out help from them to make this possible, make this happen. I think of Steve Chu and his wife, who started their online store. Steve Chu over at what's Steve's site?
My wife
quit her job. Yeah. And, he tells the story of how he and his wife started while he still had his full-time job. And so I think that's a good route as well, is to enlist your spouse to be that person that helps not only frees up time for you, but then becomes part of the business as well, and maybe can bring their assets and knowledge into it. And so I think there's lots of ways you can kind of think about it. Again, if you want to do this bad enough, I think, you'd eventually find some ways to kind of fit it into your life somehow.
Yeah. I know Gary Vaynerchuk had a famous quote. It's a little dated now, but it was stop watching effing Lost. And it's this idea that, especially more now than ever, actually, people can binge watch like 4 or 5 hours of Netflix in a night, but then can't find any time to work on something else on the side. So yeah, it's priorities. If someone wants to make this work, they definitely can.
Yeah, and there are seasons in life, right? So say you go through this a couple of years till you get the thing off the ground, and then it's your full-time thing, and then you can have your lost time back. But dedicate some time when you're young and you got energy to do something like this.
Now, at the beginning, you mentioned that you sort of had some side hustles during college. What were you doing then?
Yep, I tried a bunch of different things. I was kind of all over the place. I waited tables, which I think is a great side hustle for kind of nights and weekends, because that's when the most of the cash is made if you're a server. It also is I think it's a good job that everyone's sort of have to make them a better human. Because if you're in a position to serve someone, then you have so much more empathy for that person in the other, flipped position the rest of your life. But that made some good cash. Also parked cars. So I worked for a car parking service outside of like parties or fancy restaurants. I would park cars. And that was another kind of quick money thing after work, and made some pretty good cash and tips.
Yeah, I was just going to say most of those jobs, or those two jobs, I mean, they're probably, do you make more on tips than you do with the actual pay, or?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Tips was where it was at. And I would try to max out those as much as possible. So whatever I could do to please the customer and make it a better experience for them, be faster, be better, be nicer, whatever it was, to maximize those tips. And then, those are sort of trading time for money types of side hustles. And I think they're good for a season. And they taught me some lessons, but it was hard to scale them because essentially they were just kind of jobs, side hustle jobs. And so I moved on to different types of opportunities. The next one was when I learned how to blog myself, then I started making websites for other people. So I found local businesses that were in need. And this is something that I could really scale pretty quickly. Anyone who asked, me to, how'd you make your website? How'd you do that blogging thing? I would offer the service to them. Hey, I could hook you up. I could set you up with your own site, do it really quickly. And I think I was even getting the hosting company commission for the affiliate as well off of it. So it was it was a double dipper there. But that was a really good one. And then as I continue with my blogging efforts, and the blog in some ways was a side hustle, but freelancing was another one that I really enjoyed because it taught me to be a better writer. It got me out there, taught me about a subject for personal finance, which I'm passionate about. And brought some nice extra income on the side. And freelancing, I think, is something that a lot of people can do as a good side hustle with a kid at home, and really be able to ramp up their income pretty quickly.
Yeah, because they're getting not a guaranteed payment, but at least they know the payment that they're getting with a particular client. So it, unlike blogging, where as we know, you can easily go 6 months minimum. And not make anything. So
sure, it's a long game for sure, and that's why I think it pairs well. Freelancing pairs really well with blogging because you can kind of do both simultaneously. One's the instant payment, and one's the longer play. And so you see a lot of times people who work in the internet space to take that approach, regardless of what business they're doing. They'll have a kind of a freelance element to what they're doing, and then they're kind of working on this long-term play. I think that's smart because you want to eventually work towards something that's scalable. That's the best kind of side hustle eventually to run. Is it something that can serve a lot of people rapidly? So
things like blogging and freelancing, they've sort of become possible because of this whole online thing.
Here we are.
Yeah. Now, and I know there's a ton of different online services that have made things possible that we didn't have before. You mentioned Lyft before. They're in Toronto, I think, right now. Uber's around a lot more in Canada. What other what has the internet opened up to us? But with different services and different ideas, like almost anyone can start some kind of side gig in the next 5 minutes.
Sure. I've got a good article in this called 52 Ways to Make Extra Money. So I'd encourage folks to go over there and check that out. But I'll definitely share a few of the ideas here. One of them that comes to mind is a site called Fiverr. And many people have heard of Fiverr at this point. The trick to Fiverr is not doing the $5 gigs. It's selling the upsells, right? So it's kind of like freelancing in that you're doing the $5 thing, but then you can also offer these upsells for 30, 40, 100 bucks, I did a podcast interview with someone. He told me that's the secret sauce is make sure your upsells are high quality and you're charging a good market margin there. And other ones, I like a new one called VIP Kid. And this is for any teachers out there or people who just think they would enjoy teaching. VIP Kid allows you to teach English to students in Asia. And it's an online portal that allows you to do that. And folks are reporting that they're making some pretty good money through that program. Go ahead.
Quick question on that one. Do you need any kind of teaching experience on that, or is it just a certain English level?
Nope. I think you pass some initial tests with them, and it's sort of like an open marketplace, So yeah, I'd encourage anyone who has that knack for teaching and who speaks English, they can check it out. And I looked it up, and it looks like Canadians are doing it, and there's a big advantage to Canadians doing it for tax reasons, I believe. I can't get all into it, but apparently you can keep a lot of the money as a result of it, the way they've kind of structured it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a VIP Kid.
Yeah.
Another one we talked about kind of briefly before the show was called Rover, and it's an online portal to help you take care of folks' pets. So if you like dogs, if you like cats, and you want to be a house sitter for those pets and other people's pets, and this is another one of those sort of like on the way jobs. Like if you find yourself like walking your dog all the time, and taking care of your dog at your house, maybe Rover is for you. Maybe you can hook it up and find some other people to help out and make some money taking care of their dogs too. I think I have a few others on the list. None are coming to mind right now, Tom, but if you have any, you could refresh my memory. But those are a couple of the new ones and fresh ones out there.
There's a couple little Canadian apps I wanted just to sneak in here because I know you won't know them. There's a couple I've been liking that are specifically Canadian. One is Drop, and all Drop is an app where you connect it, and it basically they're able to see your spending. You've connected your cards and stuff, and they give you additional rewards. So we've already got our credit card rewards. We've got our air miles here in Canada and an Aeroplan, and Drop just adds another layer of rewards on, and basically there's no extra effort. you're getting all this free stuff just by connecting to the app. Another one I wanted to mention on a different angle is Lending Loop. It's sort of a peer lender. It's sort of the only one in Canada, and you lend to businesses. So not person to person, but you can lend to businesses, and it was an interesting way to make extra money that isn't sort of a traditional thing that, like what we've been talking about. It's not a gig, but it's an interesting way to make money here in Canada.
Yeah, I like those. And that kind of jogs my memory. There's in the US, there's things like Swag Bucks. There's survey companies you could tap into, and some of these are really legit, and it's something you can do from your computer. And it's in some ways kind of passive as well. Some of these will pay you literally for surfing the internet. So I think once you set your mind to it, that I need to find some of these things, which are the ones that are passive, I can set myself in motion to do kind of along the way. I think they'll start coming to you, and as technology advances, more and more of these ideas are coming down to us every day. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the surveys one. I recommend a few of the legit surveys. They get a bad name because there's a lot of junk out there. But things like Swag Bucks or Opinion Outpost, these are all ones that are available in Canada as well. Yeah. And even if you want to binge your Netflix, you can still be responding to a survey. They won't come all the time, but when they do come, you might as well fill it out. And
sure,
they want to know that your opinion, and that it helps feed advertised dollars and everything like that. But
right, yep. And if you know you're doing this because, for instance, like we said at the outset, hey, I'm using this to pay off my debt. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of get by with like doing some surveys, doing some like boring internet work for a little while, knowing that you're advancing your financial life like this. But I've got some tips for folks if they're wanting to get into doing something on the side, just kind of as a general, like, how do you get started doing this? I'd love to share them with you, Tom. If that's cool.
Yes, for sure. That's what I wanted to ask you too. To add to that was how do people decide what they're going to do? Because you've got a huge list of items on your site. I've got another huge list. Combined, we've got like 100 different things people could do. So yeah, how did they get started? How did they choose what's right for them?
Yep. I think a couple things come to mind here. I think if you're young, oftentimes you can trade time a lot more easily. And so it's okay to kind of come up with ideas that do, trade your time. As you get older, you got to get a little more slick about this and hopefully build something that creates a little more passive income for you, and be a little smarter about it maybe. And so the way I like to think about it, I got 5 things listed here. The first is look for ideas that are proven in the marketplace. So don't think you have to create the next Lyft or the next Facebook. Just straight up copycat people. People are talking all the time about what they're doing online to make money. I've got 25, 30 podcast episodes of how people are making extra money for themselves, and you've got all kinds of articles on this topic. And so go out there and see what's actually working for people. People are sharing this online. So find the thing that kind of resonates with you. You're like, oh man, I could really do that like they do because I've got that amount of time. I don't have to invest that amount of money. And, I really like that aspect of it. And so it's like, if you find yourself resonating with some of these ideas, go explore them. The ones that kind of like, make sense for you, then go after it. So don't be afraid to copycat. Next, I would just say, like, this should be something that's fun for you. If you're really going to put enough energy into this thing to eventually make some money and possibly eventually scale, make sure you're doing something that's fun.
Mhm.
Don't trade your ladder, your corporate ladder that you're dissatisfied going up, for another ladder that you're dissatisfied going up. Like, go to another ladder that you enjoy climbing up. Third, I would say absolutely no debt. Like, don't pay money to be a part of a program to make money. Don't go into debt to do any of this. You're going to hear all the time, oh, I need a small business loan, or, I need to have a credit card immediately to be able to do this. No. Bootstrap this thing. Don't spend money until you're making money. Have that mindset going in. That's helped me, and that'll help you going forward. And to that point, use this as an opportunity to fix your finances. So as you're coming up with this idea, and as you start developing it, think about, okay, if this is going to be my thing one day that I'm moving into potentially, then I'm going to spend not only this time learning about this new idea and exploiting it and making some money, but I'm also going to spend some time fixing my financial life, so that when I am ready to make the full-time leap as an entrepreneur, or to go home and stay home with my kids, then my finances are in such a good shape that it'll be totally easy to do that. So no debt in your life, emergency savings all built up. You teach people all the time how to do this stuff, but make sure the making money side is helping that finance side, so that when it comes time to make this side hustle a bigger thing, you'll be ready. And then lastly, I would say focus on ideas that do scale. Now, I challenge you to come up with an idea that won't scale. I think most of them will. But think about the business and how you could, if you want to start doing it, this kind of goes along with the fun part of it. Like, to me, fun is a business that you could kind of grow. Like, that's really fun once you get into it. And if a business is struggling to grow, or you're having trouble like seeing how this could serve a lot of people and make you a lot more money eventually, then it may be, the wrong one, or maybe you're thinking about it differently. So for instance, I like to use the dry cleaner analogy. So I want to start a dry cleaner service. You're literally just like dry cleaning the clothes. You know what dry cleaning is? Is that what they call it in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So dry cleaning, I own the store on the corner, and everybody in the kind of surrounding neighborhoods comes there, drops their clothes off in the morning. I dry clean their stuff, and at the end of the day, they pick it up and they pay me, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like a limited type of business. It's probably a good cash cow, but it's only going to make probably $100,000 a year, right? It's never going to make more than that. Yeah. Unless you go buy other dry cleaning businesses, right? And you start a franchise around it. So that's one way to scale it. But maybe even like a faster way to scale it is to master the idea of how to make an awesome dry cleaning business, and then teach people online how to make their own dry cleaning business. So there's always, to me, a way to scale something much more rapidly. So, or maybe even like through creating the dry cleaning business, you come up with some awesome technology that then can serve all the dry cleaning businesses across the United States, right? So put that kind of thinking cap on whenever it comes to these business ideas or these side hustle ideas. Like, how could you take them and serve the whole world with these ideas? And I think that's where it gets really exciting. As you can tell, I'm getting kind of amped about this, but that's where the fun comes into this. And so as you start to think about it, I mean, this kind of thing could really change your life, and it certainly has for me. And so I'd encourage people to get in, and right now, get in as soon as possible.
For sure. This has been awesome. Before we go, can you let everyone know what you've been up to and where they can find you?
Yep. My main personal finance site is called ptmoney.com. And I encourage you to come check out all the cool money making ideas and articles we have over there. And then, of course, I run a conference for other personal finance bloggers called FinCon. And I'd love, if you're in the business, I'd love for you to come check it out. And we also have a community pass this year. So if you're just a personal finance geek and don't necessarily have a blog, but want to come check it out, we'd love to have you take that community pass. So that's at finconexpo.com.
And it's in Orlando this year, so it's a great reason to go down.
That's right. Come on down.
Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, absolutely, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Philip Taylor for sharing his thoughts on making extra money. You can find show notes for this episode at MapleMoney.com/Philip Taylor. We're already up to episode 6 of the Maple Money Show. If you haven't heard all of them, I encourage you to go back in your favorite app or MapleMoney.com/show so that you're not missing out and can catch other great guests like Jessica Morehouse and Pat Flynn. After you're caught up, leave a review and let me know what you think.